Hey everybody, it's Charles from HumbleMechanic.com, and today we're going to take a look at the VW Atlas. So I've had this Atlas for a couple of days, cruising around town, and I thought it would be cool to give you guys some of my thoughts, sort of like I did with the Tiguan. The Atlas is cool, and it'll always have a little bit of a place in my heart because it was the last training class that I went to before leaving the dealership. All right, so let's get right into it. This thing is huge. It is a very, very big vehicle. Off the top of my head, I don't know the square footage or anything like that. The one that I have now seats 7. There are some that seat 6, none that seat 8. I have an R-Line, which is cool, wheel upgrade, trim upgrade, pretty nice looking vehicle overall. It drives pretty well, better than I expected for such a large vehicle. And compared to the other vehicles in the segment that I've driven, it doesn't drive bad. I do think, yes, it is underpowered. To be fair, I think unless you're running around in like a Jeep Grand Cherokee Hemi or something like that, all the cars in this segment, this big SUV segment, are probably going to be pretty underpowered. What would serve this vehicle insanely well is a V6 turbo diesel, but you know, we're never going to see that here in the States, I'm sure. Room-wise, it's fantastic. The seats all fold down. They fold down flat. You have about 7 feet from the back door to the center console, the back of the center console, and I want to say about 45 inches wide that you can store stuff. So there's a lot of room in the vehicle. Passenger compartment is comfortable. There's tons of room in the middle seats. Even the back seats have a pretty good amount of room. One thing in this segment I think a lot of vehicles struggle with is headroom in the way back third row. Yes, there's a little bit of leg room between the seat and like your knees if you're sitting in the third row, but it's headroom. Even me, and I'm not very tall, I've had to sit like this in the back of other, 3-row SUVs. With this one, I can just sit normal and it's totally cool. Plus note, the third row headrests always remind me of battle droids from Star Wars, so that's a +1 in the cool points for this vehicle. And of course, like you'd expect from a car like this, it's built for the American market. Cubbies galore. The center console is enormous. Cup holders till the cows come home. I don't know, 700 cup holders or something like that. All that kind of fun stuff. Like I mentioned, it drives pretty good. It actually rides pretty good. I did get a chance to take it off-road, as in my yard, and it did fine. There are settings you can change it to for off-road, snow mode. It has all of the normal VW features like the giant radio, which I will say the two things I don't like about it is it fingerprints rather easy, and when I turn the volume knob, if I'm using that, I tend to accidentally change the station, probably because I'm not turning the knob this way. I'm kind of laying my hand over it. So that's something you want to be aware of. If you're driving one, test that out, use the volume knob on the radio and see if that works for you. I will say I love that they have the knobs instead of just a pure touchscreen. I don't like the cars that have pure touchscreen. But you also have all the buttons on the steering wheel that, do all the features pretty much for the radio. Styling wise, I'm mixed. I like parts of it. I like the headlights. I like the LEDs. It looks like a lot of other SUVs though. It could easily get lost in the mall or Whole Foods parking lot or the REI parking lot where I took it yesterday. It could easily get lost and doesn't really stand out. The R-Line is better because it does have the wheel upgrade and the trim package upgrades, but the plain one I could easily see getting lost in a sea of other big SUVs like this. Just like the Tiguan, oddly enough, slow speed takeoff is a little bit awkward. That 1-2, 2-3 shift does seem to have a little bit more positive feel to it, so it's a little, I don't want to use the word jerk, but it's a little almost hesitation that occurs on 1-2 and 2-3. It doesn't do it every time, but I could get it to do it most of the time. I'm guessing it's not a problem. I actually just felt it there. I'm guessing, it'll probably be considered a normal characteristic of the vehicle, but something to pay attention to at low or normal takeoff speeds. You really do feel it. When you drop it down in sport mode and really, give it the beans, as they say, you don't get any of that. The interior's fine. It's big, right? So since it's such a big vehicle, all the features kind of have to be big along with it. The trim, the handles, all this kind of stuff, it's big. Where I lay my hand, compared to my other cars, instead of rolling the front 2 windows down, I actually end up rolling the back 2 windows down. So, you know, my hand needs to be forward placed a little bit more. I do like the power lift gate. I do like the way the seats fold down. It is nice that you can have your kid, especially for us that have small kids, in car seats. You can leave the car seat attached to the seat if you're using the latches and not have to take it out so somebody can get into the 3rd row. If you don't carry people all the time, folding the 3rd row down, you get a lot of storage space. It's more than the Touareg, it's more than the new Tiguan, it's way more than any other Volkswagen I think has ever had. That's really, guys, when we think about these kind of vehicles, we got to remember what the segment is for. This is not the same person that wants to drive a GTI to work every day, right? This is the family that maybe has a GTI and wants something else, is a Volkswagen family. It does a pretty good job fitting that bill. There are a few things that I don't like. I don't like that the center console is not adjustable. It's big enough that like there's plenty of arm space for it, and it's not low, as low anyway, like the Tiguan was. So it's not a huge deal again, but it's me being very, very nitpicky. Also on the highway, I did notice quite a bit of wind noise coming from the vehicle. This one is not equipped with a sunroof, so clearly it's not coming from the sunroof. I want to say it's coming probably from this door right here, perhaps a little bit on the other side as well. I didn't spend very much time really nitpicking where the wind noise was coming from. The other thing I really didn't like, and there's multiple designs that VW and Audi use for the driver assist features and driver assist systems. This one has the one where it'll actually steer the car. It will, if you're drifting, it will turn the wheel and put the car back center lane, which is great in a way, but I did feel like it tended to react a little fast for my liking, where it would start to turn and then I would start the turn in, so it would react a little bit before I wanted it to. So I did shut that feature off, which obviously eliminates it. It also does not turn back on with a key cycle, which is really important to note. Once you turn it off, it stays off, which I like that a lot. But I hated the lane departure warning. I like the one that vibrates the steering wheel so that it gets your attention, not physically steers. I mean, that was really dramatic. It won't do that, but it will physically steer the car for you. The other thing I don't love, because I find it a bit distracting, is the start-stop feature. It's fine with enough time in the car. I think it would just be okay. And just, you know, a normal characteristic of the vehicle, but I don't like it. It has a button, which is great, and the button's right here on the console. You can just shut it off. Every key cycle, it turns back on. So every time you shut the car off and turn it back on, it reactivates the start-stop feature. It also reactivates the front assist, where when you're with the cruise control on, it'll slow the car down or speed it up based on the vehicle in front of you. There's a radar behind the emblem, and then there's a camera up here just above the mirror. And it does a good job and it works, but I really did not like the behavior of the steering assist. I'm sure you can change that, but that's one of those things, guys. Don't mess with it. If you mess with it and something happens, it's going to be on you. Leave it be. I did hook up VAGCOM and tried to go through some of the listings in VAGCOM to get start-stop to completely be disabled. I couldn't find the right values. Rostec hasn't built in all the coatings yet, so I couldn't find it. I did read you can set the voltage threshold lower, because if the voltage is at a certain low voltage, it won't shut the car off, it'll keep it running. Just like load dependency, if you have, like me now, I have the heat on, it's freezing, it's 40 degrees outside. I have the heat on, I have the heated seats on, I have the lights on, I had the radio on. If there's enough load on the vehicle, it won't shut it off. You can change that, but I haven't found where you can actually turn it off. As soon as I find that, I'll do a video for you guys so you can know how to turn it off too, because a lot of us really don't like that feature. As far as working on it goes, nothing seems to be overly challenging. It's very much like most other modern Volkswagens. I will say the engine sits really low in the cab, in the engine cradle, which is probably designed for safety, as in a frontward collision, and it's going to collapse down. I will say that getting the battery out is probably going to be challenging, because you're going to be up and over, at least for someone that's not very tall. If you're tall, this is great for you. I'm kind of thankful I'm not having to do maintenance on these all day long because of the strain on the body. It's got the big belly pan on it. It's a VR6, so it's got the cartridge style oil filter with the little dinger inside in the middle to do the oil change, which is just, it is what it is. Technically, the pollen filter requires a special tool in order to replace it. 2 special tools. They look like trim wedges. I'm very confident that we'll be able to do those without any type of special tools if you're the DIY type. You guys may remember way back I did a video on the Atlas before it came out. It was one of the very early videos showing you some disassembly of the interior and what that looked like. I'll link that up so you can check that out if you want to see car apart. It's also a video where I announced that Volkswagen's going to do the 6-year 72K warranty that I got in trouble for and had to take down and edit that part out. So you heard it first. I announced the warranty. About 500 people saw that before I got a phone call very quickly from the folks at VW. The R-Line retails for just under 44 grand, which I think is a bit overpriced. I think for 44, you should get a sunroof. You should get onboard Wi-Fi. It should have interior LEDs, which it doesn't. They're regular incandescent bulbs, which kind of took me by surprise. I don't know if you could tell, but the car just shut off there. It works fine. Like, as soon as you take your foot off the brake, it kicks right on. Again, it's one of those things where time in the vehicle, I think you'd get used to it and you'd be fine, but it's just kind of annoying, I guess. So all in all, I like it okay. I'm not in love with it. I think if you need something like this, it's worth driving and seeing if it fits your needs, if you like it. This is a VR6 4Motion. I mean, it's 2-wheel drive 99% of the time. So, you know, do you need 4Motion? I don't know. Fuel economy wise, I think I'm averaging in about the 17.3, which is about what my GTI gets. So it's not great, but it's not terrible either. It does have a pretty decent backup camera, which you know, all cars, it has the features you expect to have. One thing I'm just looking at, I really like the mirror. The edgeless mirror for the rearview mirror is really nice, and it also has the compass built into it and home link buttons as well. So I dig on that. Little features like that I think are pretty cool. But again, everything is big. I call it the Fatless because everything is so big and bulky, and when you're in the cockpit, you don't necessarily feel that, but when you see it and you're around it, it's a big vehicle. But that's what people are buying it for, so it kind of makes sense. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm actually going to put a GoPro on it and get some driving footage that you've probably already watched. So if you guys like the video, give it a thumbs up, give it a share. If you're considering a 3-row SUV in this price point, like 40 grand price point, it's worth looking at. You know, is it the greatest Volkswagen ever built? I don't think so, but I'm also not in the market for this kind of car, to be just very blunt. From a serviceability standpoint, I think it's going to be very similar to all the other VWs out there. There have been a handful of reliability and quality control issues that I've heard about, everything from headliner issues, AC leaking, and on and on. It's what I always expect when a brand new model comes out. These are built in Chattanooga, which is cool. It's cool too because then these things can really get addressed faster than if they're having to deal with VW Germany, going to Mexico to get it fixed. It all happens right here in the US, which hopefully that'll lead to faster fixes and faster repairs while on the assembly line. So hopefully anyway. Don't forget to subscribe, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course on Snapchat. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Fatless.